Hello, everyone. Today on MacDonald Monday, I'm continuing with my MacDonald reading recommendations for 2026. I've decided to offer you another of MacDonald's fantasy works. I am going to get to some of his other writing in the coming weeks, but this is another favorite of mine, and I decided to choose it for a few reasons. One is it's not actually a whole book, it's a fairy tale. Called The Golden Key, and you can find it in, I've got a copy of the Penguin Classics, MacDonald, a very worn copy of the Penguin Classics Complete Fairy Tales of MacDonald. So you can find it in here if you can get a copy of that. It's online, of course, but it should be fairly easy, I think, to find a copy of it. And it's short. In this edition, it's about 25 pages long. So if you have not encountered MacDonald or you don't have a lot of time right now, it might be a good thing to start with. And it's entering into this sort of dream fairy tale world in this story, as so much of MacDonald's fantasy feels like. And it follows the adventures of a young boy and girl named Mossy and Tangle, and they meet some very interesting people on this journey that they make to find the country from whence the shadows fall, which I think is lovely. Now, if you'll have a little look at mine, it's not, as I said, it's not very long, but it can seem a little bit intimidating to some readers who are maybe less comfortable with all those words and nothing else. So I have an alternative, which is the graphic novel edition of The Golden Key. I love this book. I'm going to show you some of the illustrations. So the reason that I like this so much is not only because of these beautiful illustrations, and it's not even because it has a wonderful introduction by the fantastic, and I should say the illustrations are by Stephen Hesselman, to give credit where it's due. And there's a lovely introduction by the MacDonald scholar Kirsten Jeffrey Johnson, which is also something that makes it wonderful. But the words that are used in this are MacDonald's words from the Golden Key. So it's not rewritten. It's pretty much word for word from the original story. So if you read this, you're reading the whole of the Golden Key in its original form, pretty much. So this is a really, really good way, I think, of maybe if you have a younger reader who is less apt to pick up a text-heavy book like this, or maybe if you are less apt to pick one up too. I really, really enjoyed reading this. And even if it doesn't matter to you whether you have a text-heavy book or not, I found the reading experience of the graphic novel so different from that of just reading the story. So I would recommend it either way, as it might help you kind of hone in on different details or notice things that you hadn't before. It's kind of like reading with somebody in a way, because the illustrations point your attention to different things as you're reading along. So get yourself a copy of some form of The Golden Key. And if you end up reading it, I would love to hear what you think of it in the comments.